Hello there guys, it's me Unstable Voltage and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4. You may notice here that I'm sitting at the menu and that this is a new campaign. I decided to drop the French campaign after 5 episodes. I actually started recording the next 5 and I was having some issues with the game, some technical sort of buggy issues, most of which appear to have been addressed in version 1.10. Now that's currently still in beta, so what I'm doing now is I'm actually playing the version 1.1.0, 1.1.0 beta, and I decided to start a new game because I don't really think my head was in that French game when I started it, and I've already had a lot of people sort of moaning on the first 5 videos about how I'm not doing things right, and while I think to a certain degree I am still learning and that my head wasn't really in it, I think I'm going to have another go as the United Kingdom. Now I've actually practiced this, I've actually had another game that I didn't record and got quite far on it, so I think I'm actually learning a lot more as I go along. So we're going to go and start a new game. We are going to start with the 1936 start. We are going to be playing as the United Kingdom. And we are going to have the historical AI focuses on. I know some people don't like me having that on because they like it to be a little bit more randomized, but that doesn't always mean that it is going to stick to history, because of course, depending on who we get into alliances with and whose aid we come to in wars and stuff, that can all change the way things work. So we're using the beta version of 1.1.0 and I'm using a couple of mods. I don't normally use mods, but we have a couple of user interface mods that are designed to make things a little bit easier. So the first thing you might notice is that some of these airfields actually show up in gold, which instantly tells me these are the ones where I have aircraft stationed. And one of the main things, there's 2 mods that I'm using. One of them is called, I can't remember the exact names of them now. One of them is like the improved unit selection mod. And basically that works by showing the units here. You can actually see that some of these units, when I select them, if I actually do this right, the ones that I have selected are actually highlighted in green instead of just having the white border outline box around them. Because that was causing some issues before where it was getting a little bit difficult to actually see which units were selected and which ones weren't. So there's a few things obviously we need to do at the start of the game. I'm going to select all of my troops that are here in the mainland. And let's go ahead and create an army because we just have 19 divisions. Now we do have a tank template. It only has 3 light tanks in it. It's a very, very weak template at the moment. And we've got some cavalry. We're not going to want to have those cavalry. We want to, I think, change these cavalry all into standard infantry. So let's go ahead and change those. We don't have any colonial garrison here, but that is fine. We will keep the tank division. What we will do is we will take these infantry divisions that already have the experience of regulars and the tank division. We'll go ahead and put them in a brand new army, and this army will have a commander, which will be a general. Let's go and give them to you. And this army, what we'll do is we will garrison them down here on the south coast, because this is the army that we'll probably want to get across over to France once the war starts. As for everybody else, what we'll do with this army is we will give them a field marshal. Let's give them to Montgomery. And we will get them to garrison more around the middle of the country. And this will be our training regiment. So we're going to go ahead and get this unit to start exercising. So you'll notice these 3 buttons that have appeared now. These were added in 1.10, which allows you to carefully or aggressively execute your battle plans, as well as the sort of standard default balanced manner. So if you carefully execute your battle plans, when the plan is carried out, units will not attack heavily fortified locations unless they are unmanned, and they'll avoid attacking provinces, which will weaken the front line by making it longer. If you've got it set to aggressive, they'll attack provinces if they are part of the plan, even if it may lead to the front line becoming longer or may put units in exposed locations. So that's quite a nice little setting that they have added in there. Let's go and make our training. Let's go and change some of these colours around. So let's go and select our training army. And let's go ahead and make this army white, and let's change its icon. I wish they'd give you more options for icons. And yes, I know there's a mod that gives you more, but the default ones that they allow you to select from is pretty weak. So this is going to be our training army, and we'll send all new units to this army just to basically keep it going. And this is probably going to be our German line army, but we'll see how that goes. So there are a couple of other things that I want to do. First of all, I want to take all of my ships, and you'll see some of the colours change. Again, this is part of the second mod that I'm using, which is the strategic map mode improvements. So what we want to do here is let's go ahead and get all of our ships in the north over to one particular port. And then we're going to go ahead and get all of our ships that are in the south over to one particular port. So basically I'm just trying to consolidate my navies at the moment, get them all together. So that's fine. And then I also want to deal with my aircraft. So let's go and have a look and see what aircraft we have. So the first things I want to do is take all of my air wings and delete them. Now that doesn't actually get rid of the aircraft. All that does is it just gets rid of the air wing and puts the aircraft back into storage, into reserves. Now I am going to leave anything that is on a ship, so anything that's on carriers, we will leave that standing by. Don't really want to have to mess around with those. So what I'm basically just trying to do here is reset all of my aircraft so that I can distribute them where I want to put them, basically. So we're just going to go ahead and get rid of pretty much all of the aircraft that we can. We've got some there. This is the one thing about these games, is they do take quite a bit of setup in the sort of early part of the game. So let's go and get rid of these. Well, like I said, I have had a little bit of practice with this, so I do sort of know what I'm doing now. I'm still not perfect, but can we just hit enter? Yeah, enter works fine. Good. And one more, we've got those there. So let's go ahead and get rid of those. So that's all of the air wings deleted, with the exception of the air wings that are currently on board ships. So let's go and select London. That is an absolutely massive airport, so we can get a lot of stuff there. Let's go and put all of our bombers there. We've got 240 of them. Let's say we want that to go up to maybe 500. And they have added these buttons now, so you can quickly add unit numbers, which is good. So we'll create an air wing here in Greater London. They don't have a job at the moment, but that's fine. And we can go and put all the fighters, and we've got a lot of naval bombers here, actually. I think we might just... actually, we can put all of these here. Let's go and put the close air supports here as well. So we'll say we'd like this to go maybe up to 500 again. So let's go and do that. And yeah, I think we'll just have most of the aircraft in London for the time being. We should be fairly safe. So we want our fighters. We've got a lot of these. So let's just say we want to go up to 700. So now we're running on a limit of 1,700 with all of those units there. And then finally we have the naval bombers, which... Do we have an airfield closer to the south? Maybe we want to have those ones over here in East Anglia. So we'll go ahead and put the naval bombers over here. And we can say we want that to go up to 100. That's not quite the way I wanted it to work. There we go. So we want 100 of those. Fine. So that's all the aircraft sorted out for the time being. Now then, if we just go back to infantry, I'll just go onto the right map mode. Down over here, we've got lots of random bits of infantry sort of all over the place. We've also got some random navies around as well. Got our navy down here in Alexandria. So we've got all of these units. We're going to go ahead and grab everything else, including cavalry. And we're going to go ahead and put these into a third army. And we're going to go and literally grab everything that we've got that is in the UK. Sorry, we are all the UK. But everything that we've got that is overseas. And we're going to go put them all in this army. All the stuff that's down here as well. Is going to go in that army. We've got some ships down there. I think they'll probably be more useful in Alexandria. So let's go and get them over there. Do we have any more units around here? It doesn't look like we do. We just have the 11. We will keep that cavalry. Now, most of these colonial garrisons, we'll put military police with those. Now, I know last time when I was doing the French game, people were saying I didn't need military police this early on in the game, and that is technically true. But I do like to get that sorted out and, you know, sort of leave it alone. We're going to call this this particular army suppression, because what we're going to be doing is using this to suppress I think I've spelled that wrong, but never mind. We're going to be using this army to suppress any rebels, and we're also going to be using it to try and keep Italy out of Africa when the time comes. We'll go ahead and change the colour of this army. Let's make them a nice nice green there. And we'll get these guys exercising as well. That's all we really need to do for those. I'm quite happy leaving them as they are. Let me just check out this army again, because some of these actually say cavalry brigade, and they shouldn't do, because they're no longer cavalry. These, we'll just call these guys infantry now, because that's what they are. So you guys are infantry, and there's another cavalry brigade as well. Doesn't cost anything to rename them, so we'll go and do it. So that is fine. So okay, that's all of that done. That's all of our units, planes and ships done for the time being. Let's go and have a look at our research. We've got 4 research slots. So one of the first things that we want to do is get mechanical computing. So we already start with electronic mechanical engineering, but anything that increases our research speed is worth getting as early as possible. We also want to go into industry, basic machine tools to improve our production efficiency cap. And at the same time, we also want to grab Construction 1 as well to increase our construction speed. With our final point, we probably want to go in and grab support weapons. So let's go and do that. And we will be sort of making our infantry units better as time goes on. We've got some free civilian factories. We've got some free military factories as well. So we want to try and keep our civilian factories down here and our military factories up top. So we'll queue up some civilian factories. Then we'll get some military factories on the go. And then we'll probably have some more civilian factories after that. And then some more military factories. And we'll just keep sort of building them up as we go through. So let's have a look at what we're working on at the moment. We are working on light tanks. We are working on support equipment and infantry weapons. We are working on bombers and fighters. And we're also working on quite a few different ships as well. We do have some free dockyards. So we're working on 3 lots of light cruisers, submarines, and 3 lots of destroyers. Do I want to put you guys anywhere in specifically? I think we'll wait until all of our ships have got into position and merge them up. But we will go ahead and just use those additional dockyards to get all of these working at a relatively reasonable rate. Now we are going to be short of oil. I think it's just going to be oil. Yep, just slightly short of oil. We'll get some from the United States. So we hit that button and they should send us some oil. So we've still got some free factories. Now, are we building the best of everything that we can? So our bombers, let's have a look. Yep, the Whitley is the best bomber that we have. Our fighters, they're probably the best fighters that we have so far. Yes. So we're probably building everything as best we can. How many free factories do we have? We've got 7. So let's go ahead and put a couple more on infantry equipment. Now, we should have also started with the tech that allows us to build artillery. So yeah, we can build artillery. We don't want artillery 1. We do want to get artillery because artillery is really, really good, which is something that I've discovered. You want to wait until you get up to artillery 2. The main reason for that is because if you look at the defense, they've actually improved it. Artillery now has a defense of 1. It used to have something that was really, really low. It was like 0.5 or something. So they've gone and improved that. So artillery 1's not actually all that bad. So yes, we'll go ahead and get ourselves some artillery built. We'll also want some mechanized as well. So how many factories do we have remaining? We have 5. Let's go and put... We do want to get some of this stuff stockpiled. We'll go ahead and do that. We want to add ourselves some motorized. So let's go and put 2 factories on that. And we also want to add ourselves some towed artillery. So we'll go ahead and put 2 factories on that. We want to bump these up on the lists so they're not below all of the ships and planes, I think. There we go. And we want to do the same. It's actually probably quicker if I put it to the top and then move it down, actually. So let's go and move you down. That'll mean we'll be short of some supplies again, but that's fine. So what do we need? We need, again, it's just oil. So let's go ahead and get even more from America. It'll be fine once we unpause it. We've got no template for the motorized and the artillery. That is fine. We'll be adding the motorized to the tank battalions. Low manpower, which we're aware of. National focus. So we can go for limited rearmament, which will instantly give us some free civilian buildings. We'll also want to go for home... Well, not home defense straight away, actually. That's not all that useful. Reinforce the Empire is a very, very useful one. But I think right now we're going to go for the limited rearmament. Get some factories nice and early on while we can. This army down here, this should be a new theatre. This should be the African theatre. So we'll just call this Africa. And... what we will do, yep, you're in that one, so you can start training up. Now, we don't have any divisions training, so let's go ahead and make sure we recruit and deploy. So we want to train up an infantry division. We are going to get 10 units. We're going to get you to sort of pop up in the West Midlands, and you are going to join that. That wasn't what I wanted to do. Where are we? You're going to join that army there. That should be right. It's because I've changed the colour. Purple. White. Yeah, maybe I should change that colour from white. It's not helping all that much. Let's go ahead and make it a nice sort of burgundy colour. That way it'll be a lot easier to spot on there. Okay, so now we've got some new units in training. We'll go ahead and speed the game up to speed 3 because there's not really an awful lot that we can do at this point. We've got missing equipment production. We're not building any close air support or naval bombers. We could go ahead and do that, actually. It would be nice to have some more factories, of course. Like you see, we need a lot of infantry equipment and stuff now. Let's go ahead and take off one factory from both of these for the time being then. So we want to get ourselves, what was it? Close air support and naval bombers. I'm not all that bothered about the naval bombers, to be honest. But we will go ahead and throw some in on close air support. So let's go ahead and get some Hectors in there. Let's get you moved up through the list. And we'll give you 2 factories, I suppose. The bombers are slightly more important, but that should be all that sorted now as well. So yeah, it's complaining about the naval bombers. Where do we have our naval bombers? We've got them set over here. It's because I've told them to reinforce. We'll just go ahead and say, look, just keep the number at the number that you're at. That should go away now because I'm not... Yeah, there we go, because we're not telling it to reinforce. So we know we don't have a template for our artillery and our mechanized. We can't really deal with that until we actually get some army experience because we need that to be able to build the templates up. And when I was playing before, I ended up with so much army experience, I didn't know what to do with it half the time. So it doesn't take a long time to get a lot of experience. Looks like our navies are starting to group up. So we're going to go and let's give you an admiral, better spotting chance. So you're the home fleet, and this is the no, we don't want the infantry. We want the navy. You're going to group together. This is the Nor fleet. We need to go ahead and give you an admiral as well. Naval anti-air attack. Number of ships in the first contact. Yep, we'll put you in there. Can we change this name? Let's call this the South Fleet. And then let's go ahead and call this the North Fleet. Just because it'll make it a little bit easier for me to tell which one is which. And then there'll be one fleet remaining, which will be this one down here in Alexandria. And we'll group them all up. Mediterranean Fleet is exactly what I'd have called it anyway, so that is fine. Let's go and stick another admiral in there. So if we go now and have a look at our production, and then we can send these ships to the appropriate fleet. So we've got 3 lots of destroyers. So you are going to go to the... Right, one to the Mediterranean Fleet. King George V dies. Are we paused? No, we're not. His Majesty King George V... No, let's get that right. His Majesty George V, King of the United Kingdom and the British Dominions and Emperor of India, has passed away. His quiet calm and devotion to his subjects saw the empire through both the Great War and the Great Depression. His son will assume the mantle as King Edward VIII, but there are already concerns that he will be too independent of thought. Stanley Baldwin and Neville Chamberlain are preparing to ensure that he will accept direction from the Prime Minister and the Cabinet. May he rest in peace. So unfortunately that reduces our national unity by 0.1% per week, but we should be fine. So we are paused. One going to the Med Fleet, one is going to the South Fleet, and one should be going to the North Fleet. We've got some other boats that are all sort of split up all over the place anyway. You cannot deploy because we already have insufficient manpower, which is a shame. So we'll sort of set you up anyway. So again, we want the Mediterranean Fleet, we want the North Fleet, and we want the South Fleet. And then we're working on some submarines. We'll put the submarines on auto. They can go wherever. So our big problem at the moment is that of manpower. Now, we will be able to get the manpower up. And it's probably one of the first things that we will do once we actually get some political power. So we'll probably go in and change from volunteer only up to limited conscription. It's the only options we've got because of our government type. So we can literally go volunteer only, disarmed nation, which means we get even less people to recruit, or we can go to limited conscription. Now, we're currently, our current recruitable percentage of the population is 1.5%. If we change it to limited conscription, it goes up to 2.5%. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but you've got to remember that we are talking about a population of 45 million people. So that's an extra 1% of 45 million. Now, we also have this thing affecting us called the War to End All Wars, which is giving us a minus 25% to our manpower. Now, we can get rid of that later on by taking a national focus down here somewhere, which I think is this one. Yeah, Military Training Act. Unfortunately, we can't do that for a while because... or can we just go straight into that? I think they've changed it. I think this used to have prerequisites. We could just go home defense, issue gas masks into military training, which is probably something that we will do quite quickly. So what we want to do is keep our eye on the training regiments. Now, the reason that I split up the training regiments from the regiments that are already at regular is you can't actually get any higher than regular from training. And if you've got regulars training, they're still going to train and they're still going to get attrition. So I don't want them using up equipment when there's absolutely no real benefit to them training. So all of the training squads, all of the training divisions, are going to go into one training army. Again, our African army is doing the same thing. Looks like these guys, well, they're getting attrition because they're training, so that is to be expected. I could sort of try and reposition them into better places. Now, what I might want to do with them, and I think it's probably a better idea, is actually have them garrison around these areas, because we know that Italy will take Ethiopia, and Italy will probably try and land units over here. Once we go to war with Italy, if we do go to war with Italy, this is probably where they will come in from. It will probably be on this side. Obviously, they do have land up here, but we can sort of reduce them dropping troops in by having naval control over here. So that's partially how we intend to play that. So hopefully we're going to get a relatively decent amount of motorized and artillery stockpiled. Once we can get that done, then we can start increasing our sort of templates. We can start building them, but we do need the army experience for that. I do want to have a quick look at the current tech, because I want to just check what support units we have available. So we don't have the military police available yet. We will want to put recon companies with as many of our divisions as possible. Recon companies are very, very good because they give you extra organisation. And we'll also probably want maintenance companies with the motorised and tank divisions. We have 3 dockyards, so let's go ahead and start using those. Now, of course, we've got some of these set to 1. That's why we have a 3 dockyard all of a sudden. Let's go ahead and remove that. Let's put you guys on infinite for the time being. We may get rid of these once we've deployed as many as we can. So what we want is another light cruiser. So let's go ahead and do that. So we want quite a few different ones here. Mostly we're going for the Amphion class, so we'll go and do that. And your South Fleet, North Fleet, so you should be going to the Mediterranean Fleet. So let's go ahead and do that. That's fine. Shouldn't have any free dockyards now. Apparently we still do. Still got 2, so put 1 in there and 1 in there. So we've got 3 lots of light cruisers. We've got 3 lots of destroyers and 1 lot of submarines that are being split between all of the navies as and when. That seems fine. That should work out for us. You are in an army. That is fine. So we've just got to see what happens. So if you remember the first time that I attempted to play as the United Kingdom, you'll also notice now as well. Okay, it's like loads of things happening at the moment. So here's the remilitarization of the Rhineland. Several German divisions recently advanced into the Rhineland, marking the first time since the end of the Great War that Germany has forces positioned west of the Rhine. This is in clear violation of the Versailles Treaty, under which Germany is forbidden from mobilizing the region, or militarizing the region. The French seem content to limit their response to this breach to diplomatic objections, and public opinion in Britain is firmly against a war. So there we go, the remilitarization of the Rhineland. So limited rearmament is done. So one thing I was about to say, another side effect of the mod that I'm using, the improved strategic map view, it makes it much easier to see where all of the important cities are without having to sort of zoom right in. But if you zoom out, they do disappear to get rid of a lot of the map clutter. So we could go straight into motorized army, so we can deploy motorized infantry divisions. That would be really nice, but I think getting the home defense down into gas masks, down into military training, we should be able to get straight down there and get rid of these manpower problems. So let's go and start doing that. The more quickly we can get rid of the manpower issues, the more quickly we can start to build a bigger army, and the more quickly we can get more ships and things like that. Remember, even planes use manpower, so it does take quite a lot to get going. So how are the techs going? So 67 days before we get support weapons. Now, support weapons is what is known as a minor tech. So if you actually look at the stuff on the tech tree, you've got these larger boxes. These are major techs, which usually require a switch in production. And then you've got these smaller techs, which basically upgrade something you already have. So for example, when you go from basic weapons to weapons 1, you need to switch to weapons 1. When you go to weapons 2, you need to switch production to weapons 2, and so on. But when you get improved infantry equipment, that just improves what you already have. Same for things like artillery. So if we go and get into war artillery, that will improve our artillery, but we won't need to change production. If we then go ahead and get improved artillery 2, then that will require a new production of the different artillery type. That gives us some extra soft attack. Now, soft attack is really good. Soft attack is what you want to use against infantry. So having some artillery with infantry divisions is really strong. So we're probably going to have 2 main types of divisions in the war. We're going to have our standard infantry divisions, which will have artillery support with them. And then we'll probably have some faster light tank divisions that will have motorized infantry with them. The idea is those tank units will be quicker, and it's very useful to have some fast moving units if you want to sort of nip around the back of the enemy lines, cut them off from their supply lines, which makes them a lot easier to kill. So that's kind of the plan that we are going for there. Not an awful lot going on at the moment, but that is what you would expect. World tension is only at 2%. I noticed the war hasn't started over here yet with Spain. We do have some more ships down here in this fleet. I think we'll probably go and send them down here to the Mediterranean fleet and group them all together. And we do have a unit where we've got one division down here in Gibraltar. We'll probably leave them there. It's only a sort of a colonial garrison. Those colonial garrison units will most probably add the military police too, because they will help out in Africa. And I've done this before, so it was definitely a tactic that worked out well for me. So I'm keen to attempt it again. Of course, things in this playthrough might be different from the previous game that I was playing that I didn't record, because you never know, even though historical accuracy is on, you still never quite know who is going to attack who. I'm going to rename this army and call it German Front. It probably won't end up being that, it might be, but this is most likely going to be my army that will get sent down if France goes to war with Germany. So in my previous game, when I was playing the United Kingdom, and we were allied with France, we were holding the German line. In fact, we were actually pushing the Germans back. The problem was Italy declared war on France and then very, very quickly overran the French line and France capitulated. Now, in my game that I played that I didn't record, I actually managed to get enough units down here quick enough because I worked out how to sort out my manpower problem. I got enough units down here quick enough to actually be able to hold the Italian line and hold the German line. And eventually even had more units along the Dutch and Belgian lines as well. And then we actually had a Republican Spain who declared war on France, and I actually managed to quickly move a load of troops down to the mountains and hold them back. I actually pushed the Spanish all the way back down to the south, and Spain capitulated. I completely got rid of Italy from South Africa. Then we pushed into the Italian mainland, and I drove their final remaining armies all the way to I think Palermo was where they actually put their capital in the end, and I was having a lot of trouble getting across this strait. I was trying to fight across it, but they had their army in Messina defending, so I actually mounted a naval assault from Tripoli and landed behind them in Sicily, and Italy capitulated. And I think before I ended the game, I'd taken Germany all the way up to Berlin, and I think I was just pushing Vienna, because obviously Austria and Czechoslovakia were part of the German Reich by that point. So I think I was actually doing pretty well on that game. So I decided, you know, this is the best game of Hearts of Iron 4 that I've had, and it's the one game that I'm not recording. So that's another reason why I decided to start again. So we are getting some manpower in little trickles. It's very, very low. As soon as it comes in, it goes out, because we have stuff queued up to use them. And we've almost got enough political power to change our manpower. But I was hoping to get a little bit more done on this video, but we've already gone way over the 30-minute mark, so I'm going to end it there. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I hope you are still enjoying Hearts of Iron 4. I'll see you guys on the next video, and until then, goodbye for now.